thing for, there we go.
How's everyone doing for volume right now?
Yeah, can everybody hear me?
If that changes, I'll be upstairs. You can point up if it needs to be louder, or stare at me with evil eyes if it's too loud.
All right. Well, so we planned to go down. We went to Camp Good News, and this is the camp down in Florida that the Wahhabs have been managing. The Wahhabs left here a little more than a year ago, 2 years ago, and they were at one place, and I think maybe another, but when they first came to Camp Good News, they kind of looked it over and thought, no way, they walked away. But whatever the circumstances, they came back and they decided to manage it. What we did was to go down there and try to bring the camp back up to a better standard, I'll just say. And there was a lot of things. When we first arrived, he says, "Here's a list." I go, like I've been on these trips before, and here's the list we have, And he said, "Here's a list," and he says, "Pick whatever you want. Like it's all got to get done, not necessarily the week that we're there, but these were chores and jobs throughout the camp that needed to be done." And so we were, in a way, rather than being assigned, you do this and you do that and whatnot, pick something that you're maybe familiar with or whatever and go and do it, sort of thing. So it was kind of an ad hoc kind of a thing, but it worked out very well. We got a lot of things done. And for those of you who, let me just see here, yeah. For those of you that don't know where we were at, let's see, Camp Good News. Yeah, it might be a little hard to see on there, but see the little red pointer? That's about where we were in Florida. So Jacksonville is up here, and Gainesville is sort of over here. So that's where we were in Florida. And a number of us, they arranged for a flight. Normally, for these mission trips, we have a flight and we all jump on a plane and go. That's Nicaragua, Belize, Bolivia. We've gone a long way. For Florida, 5 of us decided to drive down, and there was about 13 or so that were going to fly. So I just thought, I don't know, if some of the things have been going on with the airlines and whatnot, I thought, I think I'm just going to drive. So that's how we saw it. We all got there at the same time, basically. We arrived Saturday afternoon on the thing. I'm going to show you this next picture here. I'm just checking that this thing is working. This is our group photo. I usually leave that to the end of the presentation, but I thought I'd show it to you at the beginning because one of our projects was that big blue wall that you see above us. And it's got a lot of the icons and logos of the brand of the Camp Good News. And would you believe it, Alice Popovich painted that. So she had help with getting the blue part up, because I don't even remember what color that was before. But I know that Elva helped paint with the roller and got all that done. And I think there was others painting too, helping with the mural all in all. But that was one of the chores, was to get that painted. So you can see the whole group there. I can't enlarge that anymore or zoom in on anybody. But that was the group, which includes the Wahhabs, Stephanie and Phil. They're over on the right-hand side, and their 4 children are also in this picture. So anyway, we arrived, and they had a school bus that's part of the camp, because they go around to pick up children in the area. It's a day camp. The kids don't stay overnight. And so they used the school bus to come and pick everybody up at the airport in Gainesville. and that's probably about a 30 to 40 minute, I don't know from the airport, but Gainesville's about 30 minutes from where we were staying. So everybody was happy with that. Just to show you a little bit around here, they have these buildings this is actually like a dorm. They have a girls' side and a boys' side, I believe. And I said that the kids don't stay overnight at this place. It's just a day camp, but the counselors do. So that's why they have these dormitories. And so our ladies, most of our ladies were in this. Each of those pink doors, I think there's 4 bunk beds, and so that was 2, 4, 6, 8 people. So 16 people can stay in that one section. And then between those 2 pink doors is a washroom that's shared by the people that are in that area. Inside the dorm, there you can see the bunk beds and whatnot. I don't think anybody was up on top. We didn't have that many people. So that's kind of how we lived. We lived out of our suitcases, more or less. There was at least for the ladies, there was a dresser there that they could put some things in. This is a little cottage called Magnolia Cottage, and Jim and Kathy Rennie were using that for their quarters. And another hall on the property is called the game hall. Inside that, for the most part, is like various games and things for the kids to play and whatnot. There's also, at the far end, there's boys and girls washrooms. And between the 2 washrooms, guess what? Laundry. So you could go in there at any hour of the night or whatever, or day, and you could do some laundry, and that was fine. But I was the only single guy on this entire trip. There was other guys, but their wives were with them. Now, my wife was staying home minding the kiddies and had to deal with all that snow. Fortunately, we have a really nice neighbor, and he helped Kathy. Actually, he probably did it mostly himself, but she did some shoveling herself. So next time maybe she'll come and she won't have to worry about that. Anyway, I was the only guy, and so they sort of didn't have a place for one person or whatever. And I know some of the others were staying in, they have some trailers, like a travel trailer. Some people were staying in those, but they didn't have a place for one guy. So I was actually in this game hall, and I was kind of right, like this little corner of the game hall, it became my bedroom. And they were pretty good. They put up a couple of screens and this bed in the corner there, and I didn't have a door, but I don't know, it didn't seem to prevent people from going down to the laundry or actually get into the laundry from the other side. But so that's my court. Now you're looking at that and you say, oh yeah, typical bachelor, the bed's not made. Excuse me? The bed is made. That bed is made comfortable for me. Okay. So I just thought I'd throw that in there. We had a tour of the property, and there's a big soccer field and a whole bunch of things. I didn't take pictures of each thing as we went along. I don't know why. But anyway, I did take a picture of the beach and the waterfront. And Phil was telling us all about it and whatnot. And you can see on the right-hand side, there's the kind of the green lines. That's the end of the water slide. They had a 300-foot water slide. Well, that's 100 meters for you young people here. But a 300-foot water slide, and actually Phil is standing on that bench. In that bench is the pump, and it brings the water up from the lake, takes it up to the top, and then the water flows down. I'll show you that later. Anyway, we had to get to work, and Jim Rennie and I volunteered. At the bottom of the water slide, a whole bunch of sand had come in on the slide. And so the water wouldn't go out into the lake, and it wasn't going to work properly. So we started digging that out and filling up this wheelbarrow, and I don't know how many loads we took away, but we finally kind of got it, and we also had to lift up the plastic that lines the slide because some of the sand had pushed up under the slide too, so it was kind of bumpy at the end. So we got all that done, and on the first day, and the slide was full of leaves and things, so we got all that out. And I said to Jim, we gotta test this thing, right? Don't you think we gotta test this thing? And he says, yeah, I guess so. So here I am, coming down, this is the bottom end of the slide. So I tested it, and then Jim says, well, I'm not gonna let you get away with that, so. Jim Reddy's going down the slide there and make sure that my results were accurate and that the thing was going to work. One of our main projects was this deck. This is beside the house, the lodgings where Phil and Stephanie and the family live. And they wanted to have a large outdoor place to meet with counselors and whatnot that's screened in, protected from the rain, and they just didn't have anything like this on the property. So somebody had actually started this before we got there. However, their building methods were not quite what we would have liked to have seen. We had Paul Jolin with us, who's a contractor and whatever. The vertical posts that were in the ground, they're just in sand. And they were about a foot into the sand. I actually was able to reach down and pull one out. I thought, ooh, that's not very good. So we ended up removing them all. We didn't have to destroy the structure, but the vertical posts we had to do again. And the guys dug post holes, got them much deeper. They then poured cement, had to mix the cement, pour the cement, and when they put the posts back in, they had screws below ground level. They put screws in each side of the post. And that way, when they got covered with the cement, it was like an anchor. So you could, if the post ever got loose, you'd still have the screws in the anyway. So they did that. Here we are getting the corrugated fiberglass. You've probably seen that before. People put over a deck or something. It didn't need to be shingled or anything, just enough to keep the rain off. So, and that's Michael Wahab on the ladder, and Mike Carey down there. So I think Paul Jolin had his trouble, hey Mike, no, other Mike, whatever. So, but one of the things was that where they wanted to put that deck, there was a big tall mast with a Wi-Fi, or no, cell phone antenna on it. And it had to be moved, so they took it down and then they moved it over to where this tree is, and had this really big long ladder, and put it back up again. I don't like the idea that there's two people on the ladder at the same time, but whatever. Maybe somebody was handing a tool to whoever's on the top. I think that might be Mike Carey on top. I think it's Jim Rennie on the ladder. Not sure. Bob Clodes at the bottom, and Paul Jolin holding it nice and steady. Is that right, Bob? Was it Mike Carey at the top?
No, I think that was Wayne Ferguson.
Oh, Wayne Ferguson. Oh, okay. Well, had to find somebody crazy to do it. Okay. I've heard the word foosball before, but I just thought I'd show a little picture of a foosball game. So if you didn't know the name of it, at least you'd probably seen this kind of a thing. Well, Phil Wahab, he got a lot of ideas, and he decided he would make a foosball game. Okay, you think, oh, okay, so he's a carpenter? No, he made a human foosball game. So there's ropes across where you would have had those poles, and then there's some plastic things that people have to hold on to. And so if somebody has to move, they slide over. Everybody has to slide over, same as in the foosball. And then you kick the ball, wherever. So we had a little bit of a game with that just to see what it was like. Another game that we had, oh, by the way, these games, we were all playing them after dinner, okay? We were actually working during the day, and we had a little relaxation afterwards. So I don't want you to think it was just a nice, fun trip. We worked and sweat and all that stuff. So, but this game they call 9 Square, and you can, if you get the idea, it's almost like a tic-tac-toe kind of a layout, 3, 3, 3. And the idea is to keep the ball in the air, has to go over whatever, and then let me just get rid of that. Then what people do, this person here, if there's more than 9 people, this person here is waiting. If you don't get the ball over, then you're out. And then everybody moves around. They'll move from this spot to the next one, and then come down the outside over here and around here and back again. And once you get to this spot, you go into the center. So whoever's in the center is kind of the big boss, and they got there through going around and keeping the ball up in the air. So that's kind of how that works. So it was a fun game to play, and also for younger players, I believe those vertical poles come apart, and they can drop the whole thing down. So that, like the little girl that's on the end there, this Phil's youngest daughter, it's kind of hard for her to hit the ball way over the thing. So they have it, and also we can pick it up and move it. It was too bright and sunny, and we just moved it to a shady spot on the grass. We cheated a little bit, so there you go. But some of the work we were doing, one of them thing was what we call a low rope course. It does have low ropes in it, but it's basically a what do you call it? Obstacle course. Thank you very much. Too many gray hairs here. And so what's going on here? We have Grace and Christine and Leah. We're putting these stumps in the ground, and then those stumps were cut with a slot, and then they take a 2x6 and put it on its edge, and you had to walk along the edge from one place to another without falling off, So it's kind of a thing like that. And then we have there's Bob and Jan and Christine. No, that's not Christine, I forget their names. But they were putting these stumps in the ground, and I believe you had to jump from one stump to the next to go through this part of the course. So, yeah, a little bit of physical labor there. And then there actually were low ropes. There's Elva and Tess tying some ropes to the bottom of a tree, and what they did was actually, I'm not sure if it was this particular spot, but I know one of the spots where they were doing this, they had, it was almost like they created a spider web between 2 trees with a whole bunch of ropes going here, there, and everywhere. And the idea is to get through it. A lot of these games require that you participate with someone else. It's a game of, maybe trusting other people and getting them to help them and whatnot. So that's a little bit about that. This was a place called the Prayer Garden. I didn't get a big overall picture, but there's it's just a nice little quiet spot where you could go. But it was really, really overgrown with weeds and various things, and so we were quite busy with pulling weeds and doing things there. That's Tess in the pink pants there. I think, is that you, Tess? Yeah, I think she was just supervising. Oh, she got her hands dirty too. Well, maybe not. I think she's wearing gloves. Okay, but and then we found out, I think just this week, that after clearing everything out, there's lilies growing there. So, who knew? And I guess they were just covered with too much stuff. So, and there was a couple of places where they put hammocks up, so you can just go and have a nice little thing. Phil has about 60 bicycles and in a shed, and most of them, all the air drained out of the tires. So one day I hauled these things up to where at least I had a compressor. I didn't have to, go pumping all the tires, but the compressor was still about, at least 200 feet from where the bikes were. So I've got 2 bikes and I'm taking them up and putting air in all the bikes. And then the next day I would go and check them and see which ones still had air in them. So the ones that didn't, he had extra inner tubes and various things. So I was involved in changing the inner tubes and the whatnot. So that's one of the things that I did. Tess liked to drive around the dump truck here. That's Bob at the back. They were clearing brush off of the basketball court because they'd had some tree trimming done. Is that right, Bob?
It was an
Accumulation of branches and things. I guess they probably got a good price. Just cut them down. You don't have to take them away. I got people coming in a week for that. So, so that's what they were doing, making like a bonfire kind of a thing there. So, there was a number of vehicles similar to that on the property where we could, you could go and get things or drive around or whatever. So that was the Gator. They call it a Gator. Yeah. Down at the beach, the water level had gone down quite a bit. It gave them almost an extra 12 to 14 feet of beach because the water level had dropped that much. So we had to make some adjustments to the dock and getting things lined up again and resetting the anchors because these are floating docks. So Jim Rennie is in the water there. He's got a saw. He's cutting a board to try to keep a dock will kind of bend in the middle from one section to another. So we were putting boards in so it wouldn't drop too much. I'm out at the end in the water there and just trying to keep things straight while they put the screws in and whatnot. So that was kind of fun. And then on the beach, that's Grace Beekhuizen. She was on the trip, and Kathy Rennie at the far end there. They were, raking up a whole lot of leaves off the beach, and we took those away, and it looked really nice and clean. It was just beautiful. You want to go down there and go swimming. Well, until the next day, because Jim Rennie and Penny Jane were hauling in these weeds and the grass that was growing on the bottom in the swimming area. So, I mean, nobody likes standing up in the swimming area. You got grass and stuff all around your feet. So, Phil had this rather interesting thing. It almost looked like a rake. And it was just a pole with a long thing. I don't know. Anyway, you take this thing and you throw it as far as you could into the water. It had a rope on it, yes. And then you start pulling it in, and it's dragging along the bottom, and it's got sharp edges on it. So it cuts the grass and the weeds as you're hauling it in. And then Penny Jane had this rake where she would kind of go behind where it was and just pull in anything that didn't come with it. So that all got taken away too eventually. But Grace wasn't too pleased. She come down the next day, I just cleaned that. Now look at it. So there you go. They have a little raft out in the water, and again needed to be kind of realigned or moved so that we could do that. And I was on the far side of the raft, Jim Rennie on this side, and Penny a bit to the left there. And it was basically tied down with concrete blocks on the corners. So we were kind of picking up those blocks or adding more to them sometimes and getting the thing out another 8 or 10 feet so that just to increase the swimming area. So that that was a job. Oh yeah, the first day I was in there, I thought, I'm gonna get a sunburn on my back, right? So Kathy gave me a washcloth and towel to take down, and it was an older one, we don't use it too much. So I had this towel around my neck and my shoulders, so I thought, I'm gonna beat the sun, so I'm fine. Anyway, when we were finished, I come in, I'm walking up the beach, and pick up my beach towel, and all of a sudden, where's this towel? I thought, I'm looking around, and it fell off in the water. It's probably sunk. It's like, now I'm thinking Kathy's gonna get upset because I'm not gonna be able to bring this thing home. And I went out and I looked, and I couldn't find it anymore. And then the next day, I went out with an actual mask on, and I found it. About where Penny is, actually, there where you can see her head. It was out that way, and it had sunk down, and then all that grass that you saw in the previous picture was pretty much covering it all. I mean, if I waited any longer, I looked down, there it is. So I swam down and got the towel, and managed to bring it home. This was kind of a jungle gym type of a thing for the kids to climb on, and we have Leah on the left there, she's painting, and Christine was painting as well. There's a whole bunch of things. Actually, if I go back, yeah, you can see the vertical things we're trying to get the camp colors on everything. So there you go. And then inside, this is the kitchen area, and you can see Elva there with the paint and doing that wall. And then Alice was up there painting. She actually projected images and then drew around them with a pencil, and then took away the projector, and then was able to paint inside, and it turned out really, really well. She also did the same thing on the sound booth. It was, I forget what color it was originally. Well, maybe it was just black. And so they painted the background, and then started to put the trees and other sort of logo type things on there as well. And of course, we had Marg with us, and she was right at home in the kitchen, helping to supply our meals and whatnot, and she had lots of help. I haven't got everybody in the picture that helped, but because various ladies would help her get things ready. So there you go. That was kind of fun. And a few of us enjoyed some of the comforts of home. Because I drove, I took my coffee machine. I've got an espresso maker at home. And I took that down, and so sometimes we would have a latte or something in the beginning of the day. And I told everybody about it. I said, hey, I've got a latte machine here. Anybody wants a latte? Not too many people took me up on that, so I thought, okay. Anyway, some of the pleasures of home. Now, we also did some ministry, and we went around to a couple of the local churches. I just really have this one picture here, and so we were up on the platform and doing some of our praise and worship songs that we like for the people. We did the whole service, I think. And anyway, so that was always fun, and of course, Gisela loved anytime she could find a piano. She loved that and was dying to play it, so she had a good time with that. But Gisela also was on the phone, and she was calling on behalf of this Angel Tree Ministry. And it's a ministry for kids where one or even both of their parents are incarcerated. And so she was phoning around saying, we'd like you to bring your child for a week for free at the camp. Okay. So that was what she did a lot during the day. And she didn't get it all done, but she was able to bring home enough information, or whatever. She can finish making these calls from here. So I'll have to ask her about how she made out with that. But boy, when you think about it, you know, parents. Did she? She got 100 kids. 100 kids that are going to attend the camp. Yeah, for Gisela. And, you know, we were shown some statistics about camps and how many people came to know the Lord through a camp. And it's amazing how many, like percentage-wise. And so it really is an important ministry. On a Thursday night, the guys all went to this men's dinner at a local church. And there had to be at least, I don't know, what do you say, Bob, 100? Yeah. Yeah, it was good. So we had a really nice meal. We did some praise and worship singing. They had a stage set up. This was just in one of their smaller halls. But it was good to meet some of the guys and to see what they do. I don't know how often they do this. Do you remember if is it once a month or? Yeah, they don't do it every Thursday night. No. So yeah. So that was a good experience. And then on a Friday afternoon, we just kind of relaxed. You know, we were hanging around and maybe playing some of the games. We got most of our jobs done. And people were leaving Saturday morning. Normally we leave on a Sunday, and we have the Saturday as an R&R day when we go on some of the mission trips. But this was this is Friday afternoon, and there's Carol. She's sitting down by the beach. Yeah. Another one here of Grace waiting for dinner. I'll catch a few rays before dinner. I want to go back with a little bit of sun on me. But one of the most popular things was the slide. And it seemed to be best to go down with at least 2 people, and I'll tell you why. The second time I went down on that, I went down by myself. And I no sooner got going on this thing, all of a sudden it starts to turn around, and I'm going backwards, you know. And there's a couple of sharp turns in it. I'm going, you know, I'm going to hurt my head. And there's no way you can kind of turn yourself around. But if you go with a crowd, you'll see how they link it with their feet. The feet go onto the person's tube that's in front of you, and they either hold your legs or do something. Anyway, there's 3 tubes and 4 people going down, and yeah, so that was kind of fun, and it was. Let me just see if I can show you. This is sort of a picture of the whole slide, and this is the beginning of it up here. And there's a very quick drop right there, and then you just kind of come down and go down and around. And you'll notice that this corner here, they had to put up some boards because people are going so fast that they fly right out onto the ground. So, but here, and listen, because this next, come on, get out of there. This is Bob Claude and Mike Carey coming down in tandem. And then around the last corner and into the lake. That's what you all missed. So, that's not supposed to be there. And then in the evening, usually after dinner, we would hang around. There was a piano in where we were staying. And you see over on the right-hand side, there's Ian with her violin. She took her violin down with her. I took my bass guitar, and Gisela found pianos wherever they happened to exist. So we would sit around there and sing a whole bunch of tunes and have some fun after dinner. And then everybody was tired, and all but one went to bed. I stayed up doing the little website. I don't know how many of you were following along daily, but I would update the website with pictures and whatnot. And so I just want to say thank you to everybody. You know, excuse me, I'm just so thrilled. But, you know, we have that fundraising dinner in October. And I think this last dinner is the most amount of money that we've ever raised, and it was up in the high 20s. So it was, I think it was $28,000. It was a lot. And it'll go a long way. I mean, we didn't spend it all at the camp, but you know, they have that for I mean, that's one of the reasons why they can offer a free week for some kids that need it. And so just by coming to that dinner, you know, you're in a way, in a very real way, you're all part of the team. Because if we just picked 18 people to go down there, we wouldn't have had $28,000. We wouldn't have had the prayer support that we have from all of you. Some of you were emailing us while we were down there and, you know, encouraging us. So, you know, it's a way bigger thing than the 18 or 20 people that actually go. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. I thought that was a cute picture, which is Ella. So that's basically my part of the presentation, and showing you some pictures of how, again, funds were spent and what was happening. And I just wanted to invite up a couple of people. We have a few people here that were on the trip, and I'd invite them to maybe come up and maybe tell you a little bit about their experience, or if maybe any questions or something. Carol, you want to come up and say a few words, or to tell us, I don't know, what you liked or didn't like or whatever. Would you go again? And
I can't wait to go back.
Have to hold it real close.
I can't wait to go back. If I could go back tomorrow and do more, I would. And I'd grab Tess and she'd go with me. I know she would. We had a wonderful time, and there were no kids there when we were there, but we heard so many stories about lives being changed, about little ones who have never heard the name Jesus except as a curse word, or who come from a home where there's nothing but violence and there's no love. And one little one who went to Stephanie and asked if she could please adopt her. I mean, talk about heartbreaking. And all of these games that they're building, they're all geared to teach the children the trust in Jesus. And every one of them, they have to work with another partner. And so everything is geared to stories of Jesus and trust in Him. And the other thing that I think was significant was Alice had the foresight to, in the mural, there is a canoe, and on the front of the canoe, she wrote OBC. Was that, no, the canoe,
and there's a Canadian flag.
The canoe got the Canadian flag, and the barbecue got OBC, so that we will never ever be forgotten as far as our trip was concerned. And I just feel that if we can touch through our bit of work and help to get to one child who learns about Jesus and the love of Jesus, then we've done our thing. And again, I would go back tomorrow if I could.
Well, you can actually. I think there's something. What's going on down
I
there?
know.
You can all catch a red eye down to Gainesville tonight.
The
And
cleanup
take
starts
part.
at 9.
What's
There's a
that?
cleanup that starts at 9.
Oh,
Yeah.
cleanup starts at 9. Tess, come on up and tell us why you go back. Well, just hold it real close, like you're gonna swallow it, like that.
I just want to say that I never had been on a mission trip before, and
Closer.
oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now.
Never been on a mission trip before, and simply stated, it exceeded my expectations, and I can't wait to go on many, many more. So if you're ever thinking about it, wondering if it would be beneficial, 100%. And I encourage everyone to at least entertain the idea. Thank you.
So what was your favorite thing to do on the trip? Because you were involved in several different, I'll say, projects.
I love gardening, so I, along with Bob, were assigned, that is our main job and our main focus
In the prayer garden.
in the prayer garden.
Yeah.
And it was hard work, but you know that feeling when you work hard physically and then you're fed well, and it's just, you collapse into a beautiful sleep. And that was our routine, and it was just felt like a very healthy way to spend a week. And again, I just can't encourage you enough to truly, truly pray about it and consider taking a week off and being engaged in such an amazing experience.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you don't have to have any particular talent. You know, we've had teenagers wiring a house, but we had an electrician with us, you know, and he would say, well, first of all, go and drill a hole 16 inches above the floor on all these studs. Well, they go and do that. Now what? And then, well, take this wire and feed it through all those holes and stuff. And then, you know, before you knew it, the house was wired, and then the electrician made the connections. Most people can paint, you can push a broom, you can help in the kitchen. You know, you can learn a new skill. You know, on one of the trips to Belize, Paul Joanne was the main contractor kind of guy, you know, charging everything. Anyway, and he says, we need shutters for all these windows in this house. And they had like these shutter kits, you know, and they said, you have to assemble them by hand. He showed me how to do it. So I started doing it. And, you know, it kind of worked out. I say it kind of worked out, because it wasn't 100%. I'd never done it before. And Paul stayed at the work site because people would come around and steal things in the middle of the night. So he slept at the work site. And I noticed that we came back the next day, all these shutters were perfect. He'd gone around and fixed my little mistakes, you know. He never said a word, but I asked him, I said, you were working on these last night, weren't you? He goes, a little bit. You know? So, you know, you don't have to have any great particular skill. Bob and Cheryl, do you want to come up and tell us a bit about your experience? Or one of you? Both of you? Sure. Okay. There you go. Just hold that real close.
Okay. If you really want to serve the Lord, this is a fantastic way to do it. There's one thing about these trips, that while you're working, you're getting to know one another really well. Because what do? We chat. And I had anticipated that I was going to work outside. I was going to paint. Well, the Lord had a different idea of what I was going to do. I remember going to the kitchen the very first morning and thinking, well, maybe they need my help. I can do that. And there's Mark, all by herself. And I thought, oh, she can't be by herself. And I said, Mark, how are we going to do breakfast for all these people? And there's only 2 of us. Well, then others came, and others came. And it was just wonderful. The Lord was saying, in the kitchen. And I know a lot of you here did spend a lot of time in the kitchen, and we're so grateful for that. And I got to the point where I thought, I don't want to see another carrot ever again.
Yeah.
If I have to peel this and cut this up into little pieces for all these people. But, you know, we did get tired because you're on concrete floor all day long. So, but it was that way that people would come in and say, what do you want me to do? And it was just, I mean, they could have gone off somewhere and gone down to the beach and done the slide. But no, they stopped and said, what can I do for you? And Mark would say, you can do those carrots. And I'm like, anyway, it was a good time. And that's one thing, you get to know one another really well. And it really is a blessing from the Lord. But it wasn't all about ourselves. When you think of these children, and we've seen pictures of them, and you think, wow, that God can reach these young kids. That's amazing. And I just thought, God is so good. And this is not the first mission trip I've been on, as it hasn't been for Bruce and Bob, but it always is a real blessing to you. And don't think you're too old to go, because there's always something you can do. Okay, I'm handing this over to Bob.
I agree.
Man, a few words.
Are you not cutting any more carrots?
No. I just want to say it was a real pleasure to be down there and working with everybody and getting to know people better than before. I just must say that Tess was quite the worker. She cleaned up so much more than I could. And I went back down after a break, and she's still down there pulling weeds. But she's a good, what do they call those vehicles?
The gator.
A gator. What an expert driver. So, yeah, we had a bit of fun. We had a lot of fun. And one time we set fire to a pile of brush and leaves and dead branches. And we piled them down outside the prayer garden and set them on fire. And about 10 minutes later, we noticed that there was an area at the back there with a cover on it, and there was a fire going on amongst this other dry wood. So we had to quickly get a hose and shut it off. But we weren't perfect workers, but we tried hard. So I just want to thank all of you who came, because we had a very meaningful time.
Thank you.
And I want to thank everybody who prayed for us from here. And that was your job that you did for the mission trip.
Yeah, thank you. So there you have it, folks. A bit of testimony from those that participated. And again, we just thank you. Hope you've been enlightened a little bit by our presentation. And with that, I think lunch is probably just about ready. It's only a couple of minutes to 12, so I timed that fairly well, I think. Or the Lord timed it, yes. So I'm just going to, I'll give thanks and a blessing for the meal. Lord God, we give you thanks at this time for all that went into this mission trip. And again, those that participated and those that supported us from home. Lord, we're going to have our lunch right now, and we just want to ask your blessing on that. We thank you for Marg and her cooking skills and putting all this together for this many people. And so Lord, we just ask you to bless the meal and all that is a part of it. And we give you thanks in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.